Hello guys, my name is Desmond and I welcome you to my lesson for today. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be looking at mathematics paper 1, which is KEBS grade 11. Ladies and gentlemen, this is just a warm-up, just to introduce you to this chapter of sequencing series. So ladies and gentlemen, this lesson will be suitable for grade 11s together with grade 12 learners. Okay, it's a warm-up for grade 12 learners. But ladies and gentlemen, most importantly, this was a November exam paper of the year 2018. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll be looking at question 3 of that question paper of the year November 2018. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, it's very, very much important that you take into account the given information. Okay, most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, under question 3, you've got 2 sub-questions, okay, which is question 3.1 and 3.2. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, all of these sub-questions, they fall under 3.1. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So this question, it's question 3.2, of which you might find that you do not need to rely on the information from 3.1 up until 3.1.3. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, let's now start with our very first question. So guys, please do make sure that you read to understand. Okay, they're saying given the linear equation, given the linear pattern, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, linear pattern. Okay, so already, ladies and gentlemen, they've already indicated to you the type of the pattern which is given. Okay, so you've got 7, 2 and -3. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, it's very, very much important that at all times, the moment they indicate the type of the pattern, you gather all the information that you know about that particular pattern. Okay, so linear pattern, ladies and gentlemen, is the same as arithmetic pattern or arithmetic sequence. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, obviously you need to find the first difference of that pattern in order to confirm if indeed it is arithmetic sequence or linear pattern, as they say. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So now let's try to have a look. What is the difference between, remember guys, is the difference between the second term minus the first term. Okay, so we are expecting that to be the same as term 3 minus term 2. Okay, remember guys, the purpose of this lesson is just to discuss and advise you in terms of how to approach exam type of questions. Okay, it's not really to give you the answers. I might give you the final answers, ladies and gentlemen. That's if I've already done a lesson where I solve these questions. Okay, but in case if I haven't done a complete lesson where I solve these problems, I won't be giving you the correct final answers. I'll just be making some assumptions somewhere there and there. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, very, very much important that you practice as soon as we are done with this type of lessons where we review the past exam papers. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, very, very much important that as soon as you're done with your lessons that you do in class, or otherwise if you watch some of my lessons, as soon as you're done, please do make sure that you check out these videos that I do where I just discuss or review past exam papers. So guys, remember, a day without learning something new, it's a day wasted. So please do make sure that by the end of each and every lesson that I conduct, you learn something new. Okay, so guys, what are we doing? We're just trying to make sure that this is indeed an arithmetic sequence or otherwise linear pattern. Okay, so what is the difference between 2 and 7? So ladies and gentlemen, it is -5. Okay, you can just punch it on a calculator to say 2 minus 7. What answer do you get, ladies and gentlemen? And again, what is the difference between -3 and 2, ladies and gentlemen? It seems to be -5. Okay, so guys, this is a confirmation that we've got common first difference, okay, of -5. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So this serves as a confirmation that indeed the given pattern, it's a linear pattern. And again, someone may say it's an arithmetic sequence. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. It's very, very much important that you know what is the first difference. Okay, so guys, now that we know and we are 100% sure that this is an arithmetic sequence or linear pattern. So ladies and gentlemen, it's very much important that as you practice, even if they say it's a linear pattern, just because you know linear pattern and arithmetic sequence might be referring to the same type of sequence, it's very, very much important that you interchange these words so that even in the future, ladies and gentlemen, they use a different word. You simply remember that it refers to what is well known as the other common word. Okay, for example, if you are used to a sequence being called linear pattern, and throughout the year you just call it linear pattern, if somehow they ask a question in relation to an arithmetic sequence, you might find that because you're used to linear pattern, then you forget it refers to the same thing. Okay, so you can just interchange words which refers to the same type of pattern. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. The first question, 3.1.1, determine the general term Tn of the linear pattern. Ladies and gentlemen, this question is allocated 2 marks. Okay, the very first question that you should ask yourself, what is the cream of that question, ladies and gentlemen? What do I mean by the cream of a question? Guys, I'm referring to that weight or those weights when removed from the question, it will make the question not make sense. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, for example, they say determine the general term Tn of the linear pattern. Okay, normally I would go word by word, word by word, word by word, but I assume if you normally watch my lessons, ladies and gentlemen, you already know that I don't need to go word by word for all of these questions. But just in case if you discovered my channel previously, or otherwise this is your first lesson watching on my YouTube, I'm just going to do a bit of example using the first question. From there, on the upcoming questions, I will just straight away go to the cream of the question. Ladies and gentlemen, what do I mean by the cream of the question? If we remove the word determine, what do we remain with? We remain with the general term Tn of the linear pattern. Okay, it doesn't make a complete sense in terms of what are we supposed to do. You understand? So ladies and gentlemen, if we remove that word there, we remain with determine general term Tn of the linear equation. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, it makes sense. You can still perform whatever calculations necessary or determine when removing that term or that word there. Okay, so now let's see if we remove general. We remain with determine the term Tn of the linear pattern. Ladies and gentlemen, the question still makes sense. Okay, if we remove term, we remain with determine the general Tn of the linear pattern. Ladies and gentlemen, it still makes sense. Okay, if we remove Tn, we remain with determine the general term of the linear pattern. Ladies and gentlemen, it seems to be making sense still. If you remove off, you remain with determine the general term Tn linear pattern. Okay, still makes sense. Remove the determine the general Tn of linear pattern. It still makes sense. Ladies and gentlemen, determine the general term Tn of the pattern. It still makes sense. Ladies and gentlemen, determine the general term Tn of the linear. Guys, it still makes sense. When I say it still makes sense, ladies and gentlemen, it means with some of those words removed, you can still answer the question. Okay, but now which words when removed you won't be able to answer the question? Let me see, ladies and gentlemen. What if we remove those words? Ladies and gentlemen, we remain with determine the of the linear pattern. Can you see, ladies and gentlemen? So with those words removed, this question won't make any sense. Okay, why is it important for us to be able to determine or find or identify the cream of the question? Ladies and gentlemen, it's because this part tells you exactly what you're supposed to do. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, it guides you in terms of how your final answer should look like. Okay, so that means your final answer, ladies and gentlemen, it has to be in the form of Tn it's equals to something. Okay, do not give us a number as the final answer. Okay, do not give us the difference of that given linear pattern as an answer to the question, ladies and gentlemen, because that's not what the cream of the question wants you to do. Ladies and gentlemen, I assume you fully understand that part. Okay, providing correct answer, ladies and gentlemen, will help you to score 2 marks. Okay, remember guys, remember at all times it's very, very much important that you know these formulas by heart, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very much important that you know these formulas by heart, especially formulas in relation to the given type of patterns. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So now let's move to the next question. Guys, remember, the purpose of this lesson is not to give you the final answers or to give you the correct answers, otherwise to solve for you these questions. The main aim is just to guide you in terms of how to approach this type of questions. Okay, question 3.1.2, the question says calculate the value of T20. Ladies and gentlemen, I've indicated to you that it's very, very much important that you are able to identify the cream of the question. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I assume what I've covered over there is the cream of the question. Why am I saying that? Remember, I've indicated on that question that I'll just go word by word, but on upcoming questions I won't go word by word. I'll just identify the cream of the question. So it remains your responsibility as you practice to go word by word until you get used to that. As soon as you get used to that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, in each and every question that you ask, you'll be able to straight away identify the cream of the question. And you will notice the importance of identifying the cream of the question. Ladies and gentlemen, calculate the value of... Can you see, guys? Now that it's hidden, that part, I'm not able to answer that question, okay? Therefore, I'm not able to tell how my final answer should look like, or the form in which my final answer should be. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, let's try to check what is the cream of the question. So this is the cream of the question, ladies and gentlemen. Calculate the value of Tn. Okay, so that means they want the value of Tn, which is 20. Okay, so that means, ladies and gentlemen, that 20 represents the value of n. Okay, so you might find that from your previous question, ladies and gentlemen, you will need to use that nth term to calculate T20. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So now, guys, in the end, you should be having T20. It's equals to whatever number, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we want to know. We want to know the number for term number 20. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, you can manually do that, but in this case, because you'll have to add by that difference until you get to term number 20, it might take you forever. That's why you need to use the formula to calculate term 20, ladies and gentlemen, because on the first question you have already determined the general term of that given linear pattern. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you understand that part. So guys, that's how you score yourself 2 marks. You might find that your first mark comes from correct substitution, and then your last mark comes from your final answer. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So guys, let's now move to question 3.1.3. Which term of which term in the pattern has a value of negative 135? So ladies and gentlemen, you need to understand what the question wants. Okay, it's more like they're saying which term in the pattern has a value of negative 3. Okay guys, we know a term in the pattern which has negative 3 is term number 3. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. We know in this given linear pattern, term number 2, ladies and gentlemen, is 2. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we know term number 1 is 7. Okay, so now they are asking which term in that same pattern, ladies and gentlemen, is negative 137. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, very, very much important that you understand what the question wants you to calculate. Okay, so they're saying which term in the pattern has a value of that. So let's see. If we remove that, ladies and gentlemen, we remain with in the pattern has a value of that. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, normally as you do more of these questions, same time you realize when you have that, it means they want you to calculate the n value. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, in this case, it seems like the whole of this itself is the cream of the question. Okay, because whichever part of the question that you remove, most of remaining words will still make sense. Okay, but ladies and gentlemen, this is the most important part. This is the most important part of the question. Which term in the pattern has a value of, you see? So if you don't know which value they are talking about, you won't be able to answer that question. So ladies and gentlemen, this is that part where you might need to equate your general term to that. It's equals to a plus whatever d. Remember, you know the value of a, you know the value of d. Here we know it's n minus 1. So in this case, ladies and gentlemen, they want you to solve and tell them what is that value of n. Ladies and gentlemen, I assume you fully understand that part. Okay, so guys, by so doing, you score yourself 2 marks. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. Remember guys, you might find that your first mark comes from you equating this to that general term, and your final mark comes from your final answer. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, when they say which term, it means in the end you should be having n it's equals to whatever. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, it's very, very much important that you identify the cream of the question. So guys, let's now move to question 3.2. Okay, so we've got 6, 2x plus 1 and 3x minus 3 are the first 3 terms of a linear pattern. Ladies and gentlemen, very, very much important. So that means you've got 6, you've got 2x plus 1. Ladies and gentlemen, you've got 3x minus 3. Okay, so they're saying this is the first, or let me say, these are the, let me do that and say these are the 1, 2, 3 terms, 3 terms of a linear pattern. So ladies and gentlemen, very, very much important that you notice we're still dealing with a linear pattern. Okay, so again, you're given the terms, the 3 terms of that linear pattern. Okay, so now the question, ladies and gentlemen, says calculate the value of x. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a straightforward question. No need to try and work out the cream of the question. Remember, guys, you can apply this strategy of identifying the cream of the question in case you've got those long questions or you've got those confusing questions. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So now you need to calculate the value of x. Remember, guys, remember, what is it that you know about a linear pattern or quadratic pattern? You know, ladies and gentlemen, this minus that is equals to this minus that. Okay, remember, guys, I've done a lesson. You can just go on my website, www.solvingexampapers.co.za. That's where you can find under, it should be under mathematics, either grade 10, 11 and 12, depending in which grade you are. You will find full lesson where I teach this chapter of sequence and series. Okay, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, that you check out those lessons from lesson number 1 all the way up to the last lesson. Okay, if you do watch those lessons, or otherwise if you understood your teacher in class, you should be able to understand exactly what I'm talking about. So ladies and gentlemen, term number 2 minus term number 1 should be equals to term number 3 minus term number 2. Why? It's because these are the characteristics of a linear pattern. We know the first difference, ladies and gentlemen, is the same, or otherwise it's equal. Okay, so what does it mean, ladies and gentlemen? It means you can just say 2x plus 1, ladies and gentlemen, the whole of that, okay, minus 6. You can equate this to 3x minus 3, ladies and gentlemen, minus 2, remember in brackets, what is it, plus 1, close. Okay, so you can also put that in brackets. So ladies and gentlemen, the common mistake that most of learners do is to not put this in brackets. Okay, is to not put this in brackets. What are the impacts of not putting in brackets? Ladies and gentlemen, very, very much important. Can you see that negative over there? That negative, ladies and gentlemen, it multiplies that term, and again it multiplies that term. Okay, so that means it has got an impact on the sign of 2x and again of that positive 1. So that means, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have negative 2x and negative 1. Can you see? Because of this sign, ladies and gentlemen, because of that sign, you can find the whole of that question wrong. Why? Because of not putting in brackets, ladies and gentlemen. Even in positions where it's not necessary to put in brackets, please do put in brackets, okay, so that you don't make some mistakes. So ladies and gentlemen, I assume you fully understand all I've been trying to explain. So guys, by so doing, you score yourself 3 marks. Okay, you might find that you score some marks on equating those two, and again for simplification, and finally for your final answer, which says x, it's equals to whatever value it is. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, when you substitute that x value there in place of x and there, you should get terms which are in a form of a number, of which when you subtract that by that by that, you should get a common difference. Ladies and gentlemen, you should get CD. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this lesson as much as I did, and I'm pretty much sure that it made sense. So ladies and gentlemen, this is that time where I need to sign and say my name is Desmond, good people, and I'm out.